Here are the top 4 wide receivers to buy in 2025 Dynasty Fantasy Football. Let's go with number 4, Brandon Aiyuk, 27 years old this season, the San Francisco 49ers. Now, look, last year was a mess for Brandon Aiyuk. He was off to his worst start since 2021. He only had 25 catches, 374 yards, and no touchdowns on 47 targets. And then he suffers a serious knee injury to end his season. Now, I do want to point this out. Aiyuk was one of those players going into 2024 that had contract issues with his team. It gets settled right before the season, and he was ready for week 1. But was he ready for week 1? After the great season Aiyuk had in 2023, this level of horrific play is very hard to quantify. Remember, Aiyuk has been one of the best receivers at getting open quickly over the last number of years, excluding 2024. Now, in those 7 games Aiyuk played in 6 of them, he was held to less than 5 catches, less than 50 yards. He had 1 eruption game, 8 for 147 against the Cardinals. So at least he showed he still has the ability to have those big games. But Aiyuk's always been a player that could do great with the football in his hands. He was only 50th percentile in yards after the catch. Terrible for him. Also, his drops, 11th percentile. He was dropping the ball way too much, and he only caught 53% of the passes, largely because of that. Again, I just don't think Brandon Aiyuk was mentally prepared for the 2024 season because of the contract situation. Now, Deebo Samuel is gone. And I know Ricky Pearsall's there. I know Juwan Jennings there. And I'm not sure with the knee injury if Brandon Aiyuk could be ready week 1. We're talking Dynasty here. And so even if it takes him 4 or 5 weeks to get back, you're thinking the next couple of years. And I think Brandon Aiyuk, with this contract, with Brock Purdy being the level of weapon Aiyuk is, I think Brandon Aiyuk is that player that we had seen in the past. He may not have that 1,300-yard season he had in 2023, but there's no question you should be able to get an 1,100-yard receiver out of him, 5 to 8, 5 to 9 touchdowns. And I think that's something that's very, very reasonable. He's going to get targets. He is an outstanding player. I think you're going to get the bargain coming off the knee injury and what fantasy manager saw last year. Let's go to number 3, Garret Wilson, New York Jets. Now, remember, Garret Wilson has never had good quarterback play in New York. And then last year when Aaron Rodgers got going in the second half, Davante Adams was there. Gee, thanks. So all that said, Garret Wilson has not been a fantasy superstar, and he may not be a fantasy superstar anytime really soon, but he's been rock solid. 83 to 101 catches every year, 1,042 to 1,104, real tight range there. Targets, 147 to 168. Touchdowns low because the Jets don't score, 3 to 7 here, but he's been very, very close. Even his 20-yard catches between 11 and 16, so he's been very consistent despite bad quarterback play. Justin Fields is there. Well, we might not think the world of Justin Fields, but Justin Fields did lead DJ Moore to a career year during their last year in Chicago. So Fields showed he can get an alpha receiver going, especially if you're going to pepper him with targets like Garret Wilson is. So that said, now Wilson after the catch last year wasn't great, 61st percentile. He's been better in the past, but we know the level of player he is. And that said, he's always targeted. Davante Adams is gone. And I expect an RPO, run pass option based offense with the Jets that'll get Fields on the move. Breece Hall's in the backfield. I think defense are going to be very careful about concerns for Fields getting beyond the second level. And I think Garret Wilson is going to be very creatively used as a target hog. He may not put up 1,400 or 1,500 yards, but he could get you to 1,200, and he could continue to see that 165 targets as we've seen in some past seasons. So I think this is the time to buy Garret Wilson of the New York Jets. Hey, if you enjoy videos like this, please consider hitting that like button and subscribe to the RotoWire Fantasy Football channel on YouTube. I want you to know that you can get a free 2-day trial at RotoWire. You do not need a credit card. No scams here. No hoaxes. No messing with you. Check out all the sports. We cover them all at RotoWire. You can check out rankings. You can check out articles. To get that trial, just go to rotowire.com/Jim. Love you to look the site over. If you like what you see, join the team. And if not, very cool. You check this out. Wasn't your thing, but we hope it is. Hey, let's go to our next receiver. Number 2, mentioned him in the last segment. DJ Moore, Chicago Bears. This is a great time to buy DJ Moore. DJ Moore had really the worst season of his career. His rookie year was worse, but he was getting acclimated into the NFL. This is his worst year. 98 catches, great. 966 yards, not great. Less than 10 yards per catch. 6 touchdowns, fine. 140 targets, great. Here's the problem. Last year at the Bears, the interior offensive line was coached poorly, and it was a bad line. But anytime a defense would send any type of simulated pressure, the defenders were in the backfield instantaneously. I mean, you saw Caleb Williams get sacked 68 times, third most in NFL history, right? So what was the answer from the Bears? All right, we'll just throw DJ Moore a bunch of bubble screens. Well, the defense was already playing up because they knew that Caleb Williams would have no time. And so it was a disaster in terms of yardage. But again, PPR-wise, DJ Moore, he's actually was a top 15 receiver last year. I mean, the numbers aren't there. So all that said, in 2 years with Chicago, 136, 140 targets. We know he's going to be their guy. And I know Rome Odunze's there. I get it. DJ Moore is an NFL superstar who just has not been in superstar situations. Last year, 85th percentile yards after the catch. That's very, very much like DJ Moore. And we know that since 2019, he's averaged 1,100 yards per season. But we know that we saw with Justin Fields that 1,300-yard career season. And the Bears improved the interior line. You got Joe Tooney at left guard. You brought Jude Dahlman in free agency from the Falcons at center. Jonah Jackson, yeah, he was not good or banged up with the Rams last year, but right guard, he's played with Coach Ben Johnson before, and that leads to Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson, the one thing I will say about him, and I don't know how he's going to do in Chicago, but he showed in Detroit that he will get the ball in his playmakers' hands and he will maximize how to scheme those players up. And Caleb Williams, look, he was under way too much pressure last year. The coaching did not get him any easy passes. And so that said, Caleb Williams should see a massive improvement under Ben Johnson with a real offensive line, and then DJ Moore. So you're buying DJ Moore here because DJ Moore, again, some people are going to be skeptical about Caleb Williams. They're going to say, oh, he's not going to be the quarterback we thought he was. That situation wasn't his fault. That's why you're buying DJ Moore here. Number 1, this one's going to be tough. Jaylen Waddle, Miami Dolphins. Look, Jaylen Waddle, last year happened. What else do you say? Last year happened. Worst year of his 4-year career. Lowest production in all major categories his rookie year. 744 yards. It was 270 less than any he had in his career. 58 catches. He had a 72. It was 14 less than that. He averaged 6 touchdowns the first 3 years. 2. All right. Targets. He averaged 121 his first 3 years. 83. What do you do? So, and he was always dynamic with the ball in his hands. Decent 65th percentile yards after the catch, but Jaylen Waddle probably better than that. So what happened? Look, Tua Tagovailoa had his issues. Mike McDaniel had great ideas in his first year. Second year, he had a really great idea of a half-field motion. He was a Tyreek Hill. The whole league caught up with that. Last year, Coach McDaniel had nothing. The defense just kind of sat down on Hill and Waddle, made Tua throw it in the tighter windows. And what do? All right, we're going to throw screens to Devon Achane. And as the season went on, we're going to throw screens to Jonnu Smith. Those were open. Those got yards with the catch. But guess what? The Dolphin season was toast. So McDaniel, look, I don't know what he is as a coach, but I know he's coaching for his career this year. And I know part of the solution is getting Jaylen Waddle involved. It's narrative. I get it. It's narrative. But we've seen Jaylen Waddle. We have seen him perform at the highest of levels. And that can come back. Tyreek Hill, I know he had a wrist injury last year, but his yards after the catch were much lower than in the past years. He's injured on the injured list frequently. He's 31. He's on the decline. Those passes that Tua used to underthrow 40 yards upfield and Tyreek could come back, jump over 3 defenders and catch him. Tyreek, I don't think has that anymore. Jaylen Waddle has to transition into being a high volume part of this offense. Buy him now before it happens.